Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with the support you need to finish your book. Best part is, after you finish your book, they take care of the entire publishing and marketing process 100% for you. So, if you want to become a successful author, make sure to check out authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. And over the last 6 years, Ciara Lilly has served as the Director, Business Development and Diversity for one of the largest minority-owned facility services companies in the United States. In this position, Lilly has successfully generated over $13 million in revenue and has built relationships with a number of leading Fortune 100 and 500 corporations. With a passion for helping businesses access opportunities and achieve sustainable growth, Lilly launched Higher Ground Consulting Group to expand her reach and impact in the business community. Equipped with an entrepreneurial, business development, and corporate diversity background, Lilly provides her clients with a well-rounded perspective that lends itself well to solving a broad range of operational and business growth challenges. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Grateful to have you on. So, Ciara, the first question that we ask on this show is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Excellent. So when I first started working with the facility services company, I had a list of wants, things that I wanted in a career, be it the salary range, it was the scope of responsibilities, just several things that I wrote out prior to interviewing with that company. And when I got there to interview, all the stars aligned. Everything that was on my list, fit this opportunity. But there were a few things that I had not put on my list that was a part of this opportunity. The main thing being public speaking. So at this time, 6 years ago, public speaking was probably my greatest fear. And now I have this opportunity that aligns with everything that I want. But there's this huge fear that I'm going to have to conquer in order to fulfill these responsibilities. And so fast forward 6 years, and the story is remarkable in that not only did I have everything that I wanted in this opportunity, I also had an opportunity to conquer the fear of public speaking, to get comfortable with speaking to large audiences. And, looking back, I still have moments when I'm in presentations and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm actually doing this. And what that shared with me is that, sometimes you can have these really, perfectly laid out plans for your life. And you can attract those. But you also want to expect that there are going to be some fears that are going to be wrapped in there, or some areas of growth that you're going to have to conquer in order to not only fulfill all of what you're seeking, but also to grow. And so that was just one of those stories that has really been defining for me, in that it exposed the strength that I had in this area. And I never would have explored it had I not been presented with all of these, this opportunity that encompasses everything. And then there was that one little thorn in my side. Looking back, I'm glad that it was there. So that's my story.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, public speaking is something I've just recently gotten over the fear of. It's interesting. It's like a mindset shift. One of my buddies helped me with, and he basically explained that like feeling nervous and excited are very similar feelings.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's like, instead of like focusing on you being nervous, just change your mindset to you being excited, and also realize that, like, he says this, like, a car doesn't go 0 to 60 in 0. So like, meaning what that means is like, first off, have the mindset you're excited. Second off, realize that in the beginning of every talk you do, you're not going to be at, 60 right at the beginning. It takes 20 seconds to a minute to really get into the groove. So if you can kind of just accept that fact and be excited, then it works out. And now I'm giving talks in front of hundreds of people, and I'm really not that scared anymore.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Once you start to kind of unlock and unpack some of the, the root of the fear, and then from people who are comfortable, kind of establish some best practices, you realize, okay, the best way to get over this is to actually practice. And I certainly remember those opportunities where, you're practicing in a room of, 15 people. At that time, that was it. It was 15 people. And they're all looking at you. And your voice is cracking, I'm sweating. It was brutal there, Tyler. I'll tell you, it was very, very brutal. But just like your friend said, giving you those little tips helped to, really refine your craft. So that's good feedback.
Uh-huh. And the next one I got for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Absolutely. So this is, I'm glad you asked that question. I love that question. So I am always talking about the importance of preparation, no matter what it is that you're doing. For me, with Higher Ground, what really birthed the idea for Higher Ground was seeing how many small and diverse businesses. And when I talk about diverse businesses, I'm talking about your minority-owned businesses, your veteran-owned businesses, any diverse business classification. And I saw that they were starting their businesses, and they're traveling, going to all of these conferences, and they have these very high hopes of meeting, your Fortune 100, 500 companies, and interest in just getting opportunities. They really wanted access opportunities. And so they spend the money, they spend the time, and they would come and they weren't prepared with the business cards or the capability statement or even clarity around what their value add would be, right? And so, it, again, just emphasize the importance of preparation, that before you can really grow your business, before you can even really effectively launch your business, there's some preparation that has to be taken to really make sure that you're crossing every T and dotting every I, and that you're inviting other people that can serve in an advisory capacity to really assess your business, to identify your blind spots or some gaps that you may not have even seen, that would help you really build a strong foundation. So, the valuable piece of information is just take the time to prepare. So it's sometimes can be a little laborious. A lot of people just they're excited, they want to launch their business. It's very easy to do that, to just launch a business. But I think in doing that, Higher Ground was created because people did that. They just launched their business and there was no substance, no foundation. And we help those businesses, but we help them after they've started. So they have to make that investment because they did not take time to prepare in advance, whereas we'd much rather see them take that time before they launch their business to really make sure that foundation is solid and they can really support all of the business that they're wanting to go after.
Mm-hmm. And then what is your best piece of overall business advice? You're not necessarily not necessarily like industry specific.
Yeah. So I think that, confidence is something that is so important. Knowing who you are, knowing your worth, the value that you bring as an individual, I think that is incredibly important. Just knowing that when you walk in the room that you have something to contribute is invaluable. And people actually, I think, are drawn to people who have that confidence. And so I would say, just being confident in your value, your worth, and especially in the workplace, that's incredibly important. But also, understanding that there is no one like you. And that is, can be a superpower that you can take with you anywhere.
And then if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh gosh. um, so I have so many things, but I would say it's okay to slow down. It's okay to slow down. I was one of those people that from the time I could get my worker's permit, I was working 14 and a half, working, fast food chain restaurant. And I never stopped. I interned and, I did as much as I could so early in, life so that I could ensure that by the time I reached 30, I had that in my mind, like 30 years old, I want this, and I had this list. And I was so laser focused on that. Once you get there and you accomplish all the things, there's still a point where you're like, okay, now what? And what all did I miss? Because I was so laser focused. And so, it can create some anxiety, some stress that, I don't think we talk enough about when we're talking about the grind and this hustle, and all of this that you hear sensationalized. There's also a thing called burning yourself out. And I think you have to really be realistic about that. And I would tell myself, slow down, smell the roses, because you'll get there. If it's destined for you to reach that place, you're going to get there. But it's important to also just take the time to enjoy life and be present. So that would be my piece of advice to my younger self.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then probably ties in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Gosh, being present. That is probably, and I'm learning this, here recently I've learned this. I can't say I've mastered it, but I've started to meditate here recently, and it has completely changed how I view happiness. I think it's important to just be present in the moment, to be grateful for where you are right now and where you've come from. But for me, the biggest thing is just being present in the moment, quieting all the distractions, and just coming to a place of, stillness where you can really check heart, mind, soul, and say, okay, how am I feeling? Right? Just taking that time, slowing things down and being present, I think is certainly what I would define happiness to be.
And then what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Absolutely. So I have a book that's called Riches Within Your Reach by Robert Collier. I found this book. It's a very, very, very old book, but it connected me to the power that we have to create the lives that we want to live. That was the number one takeaway from that book. I'm a big law of attraction person. I believe in that. And this book really just put, a seal on that to say it's possible. So it talks about just the power of the mind, the importance of your mindset, your thoughts, your words, and how we all have the ability to create life, create the things that we want to see in our lives, and some good tools on how to do that, and how to identify when you may be off track with your thinking, your thoughts, and how to just autocorrect when you find yourself in that position. So Riches Within Your Reach, Robert Collier, you can probably find it on Amazon. It's an amazing book that I would highly recommend.
And then what is your favorite quote and why?
So my favorite quote is changed here recently. So it's from Marvel's Luke Cage, and it's forward always. Forward always. And it's just a reminder that you have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to keep your focus on, what's ahead and not what's behind. And I think it's very easy to get stuck when we're looking at what we could have done better, or especially at this point when we're concluding a year and we're looking at all the goals we set, January 1, 2018, and we're looking at where we are and disappointment and all of that sets in. And I just think it's so critically important that you always look ahead and say, okay, I've got an opportunity to do my best today. And so I can't take credit for it, but Luke Cage says it, and it resonated with me, and that became my kind of quote of the quarter, so to speak. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you is, where can our audience best find you online?
Absolutely. So Instagram, I am very active on Instagram. You can find me at Ciara_Lilly. You can also, for Higher Ground, our website has everything on it. So our website is www.highergroundconsult.com. I certainly welcome the opportunity to connect with all of your listeners. And thank you, Tyler, for this opportunity to share.
Of course. Grateful to have you on. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.